YouTube. How we doing, family? It's your boy, Yo, and this is another episode of Yo Hoops. I go through every NBA game every day. Today's Friday, November 7th, and we have an 11-game NBA card. I'm going to walk you through my thoughts, let you know what sides I like, and stick around because I have two highlighted plays for today. I do this every day for free, so please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your favorite game in the comment section below. Without further ado, let me get into today's recap. Recapping yesterday, we cashed our highlighted play of the day. We took the LA Clippers and Phoenix Suns under 224. The score was 51-48 at halftime, so it was virtually guaranteed, but it did get a little sweaty in the second half. They combined for 118 points, but luckily we were set so low early we cashed no problem. Final score was 115-102 Suns. There was also some live betting opportunity if you wanted to roll with Phoenix. They were down at certain points in the first half, so those were kind of the two ways I was leaning. 6-3 highlighted in November. Big card tonight, so let's run it up per usual. Without further ado, let me get into today's games. In our first matchup, we have the Boston Celtics in Orlando taking on the Orlando Magic. Magic are minus 150 on the money line, and the total is 227. This is a really good test for Orlando. I'm high on them moving forward. I think they have a solid team, but Desmond Bane in the lineup hasn't quite fit in yet. I know they've looked somewhat disappointing, but they're at home, and I'm still not a fan of this Celtics front court. Neemias Queta and Josh Minot aren't going to cut it against elite bigs like Wendell Carter Jr. and Franz Wagner. Orlando has the versatile guards to throw at Jaylen Brown and slow him down a bit. I think they finally get a dominant win tonight. I'm taking the Magic laying the 3.5 points as my first selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers in Washington taking on the Washington Wizards. Cavs are minus 800 on the money line, and the total is 240.5. I've tried to give the Wizards every chance this season, but they stay letting me down. They've lost their last 4 games in a row by at least 17 points. I'm sick of them and I really don't want to look in their direction, but I already know that's the exact moment they'll show up. Sure, the Cavs are a great regular season team and Darius Garland is back in the lineup, but something tells me they pull away in the second half and win this one by 12. It's a lean at best, but I'll lean to the Wizards plus the 13.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Detroit Pistons in Brooklyn taking on the Brooklyn Nets. Pistons are minus 490 on the money line, and the total is 227. Both teams come into this one slightly banged up. The Pistons will be without Tobias Harris and Marcus Sasser, while Karis LeVert is listed as questionable. The Nets will be without Cam Thomas. I was concerned at first when I saw Detroit's IR, but Brooklyn missing their number one scorer is a huge blow. I like how Claxton and MPJ have been playing, but the Pistons are too complete of a team to let them hang around in this spot. I'm taking Detroit laying the 10 points as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Houston Rockets in San Antonio taking on the San Antonio Spurs. Rockets are minus 170 on the money line, and the total is 224. I would say the Rockets as a whole are clearly the better team, but at the same time, Wemby's clearly the best player on the court. Texas rivalry in San Antonio, I think he shows out. We've seen KD's washed. He just dropped 11 points on 18 shots against the Grizzlies. This is low-key that passing of the torch. Besides Durant, who's a real bucket getter on Houston? No one. Take a look at Wemby to go over 3.5 blocks. Sengun's going to stay trying to score in the paint, and I'm taking the Spurs plus the 4 points as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Toronto Raptors in Atlanta taking on the Atlanta Hawks. Hawks are minus 135 on the money line, and the total is 236. No Trae Young for Atlanta, but the Raptors come into this one at full strength. I like the addition of Porzingis, and I like how the Hawks are playing, but at full strength, this Raptors team is solid. Between Quickly, RJ Barrett, and Scotty Barnes, these guys know how to get a bucket. It does make a difference that this one is in Atlanta. They literally have to fly from Canada to the US. Rather than taking a side, I'm looking at the total. When I look at both of these rosters, there's a lot of bucket getters, but not a lot of defenders. Porzingis doesn't play defense. Puddle? Defending's an afterthought. The paint should be wide open, and Atlanta always pushes the pace. I'm taking the Raptors and Hawks over 236 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Charlotte Hornets in Miami taking on the Miami Heat. Heat are minus 185 on the money line, and the total is 241. I've been hearing everyone on Charlotte, but personally, I need to know what's going on with the injury report. LaMelo Ball is questionable, and I need to know if he plays. The Heat will be without Bam Adebayo, so this is a favorable spot for the Hornets if LaMelo goes. I can't count on it though. I've watched most of the Hornets games this season, and a lot of times LaMelo looks like he's limping on the floor. With how dominant Miami typically is at home, I think we jump the injury news and assume LaMelo doesn't go. These teams faced each other once this season on October 28th, and the Heat won that game 144 to 117 with LaMelo in. We were on Miami in that one. I'm going right back to the well. I'm taking the Heat laying the 5 points as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Chicago Bulls in Milwaukee taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks are minus 175 on the money line, and the total is 240. The Bulls really got that secret sauce to them. Look dead in the water in that last game against Philly. They make a 25-point comeback to win it at the buzzer. 6-1 on the season. This isn't a team you've wanted to fade. Tonight, they do have their work cut out for them, but at the same time, Milwaukee's role players are miserable. Every Bucks game I watch, I'm disgusted. They're just lucky they have one of the best bucket getters of all time in Giannis. In terms of a side, I lean to the Bulls, but considering I think this game will be competitive, I'm rolling with a prop. I just mentioned there's one man that keeps the Bucks competitive in every game. He's averaging 32 points in 31 minutes. I'm rolling with Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Bulls don't have an answer for this guy. Vucevic isn't slowing him down. He easily goes over his points. I'm taking Giannis over the 31.5 as my first highlighted selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Dallas Mavericks in Memphis taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. Grizzlies are minus 175 on the money line, and the total is 232.5. This is probably the weakest game on the board. Hate what I've been seeing from Ja Morant, but at the same time, the injury situation in Dallas is getting bad. Already no Kyrie, now you're without AD and Lively. That's tough. While I don't like what's going on in Memphis, it's really more of an attitude problem. That can be fixed. All of your best players being out is a way tougher spot to be in. I'm going to lean to the Grizzlies laying the 4 points, but probably a game I'll be staying away from. In our next matchup, we have the Utah Jazz in Minnesota taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Wolves are minus 675 on the money line, and the total is 233. Anthony Edwards is back in the lineup, but it didn't matter in that last game as they got their asses kicked 137 to 114 by the Knicks. Obviously, this is a big step down in competition, but Utah's been somewhat competitive. They're 5-3 against the spread this season, and they would have covered this line in all 5 games. Sure, the Wolves are looking for a bounce back game at home, but I can't lay this big of a number with Ant barely being reintegrated into the lineup. It's a lean, but I'll take the Jazz plus the 12.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Golden State Warriors in Denver taking on the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets are minus 450 on the money line, and the total is 229. The Warriors are still significantly banged up coming into this one. Steph Curry is out, and Jimmy Butler is questionable. Denver comes into this one at full strength. At home in the Mile High City, I think we see a beatdown. Even if Jimmy plays, he doesn't have that big of an impact without Steph. It's probably wise to jump the injury news. Joker's playing on another level. This one's easy for me. I'm taking the Nuggets laying the 10 points as my next selection of the evening. In our last and final matchup, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder in Sacramento taking on the Sacramento Kings. Thunder are minus 550 on the money line, and the total is 234. For the Kings, Domantas Sabonis is listed as questionable, while the Thunder will be without Aaron Wiggins and Jalen Williams. Lou Dort is also listed as questionable, so something to keep an eye on. I got caught lacking in that last game against the Blazers, but it looks like Chet will play tonight. I obviously don't like the fact that OKC's banged up, but they aren't going to scare me off one loss to Portland. This is the best team in the league laying extended numbers. It's been that way for years. They hang their hats on defense, and the Kings are one of the most turnover-prone teams in the league. It might be close up until, say, the third quarter, but the Thunder will find that rally and get the cover. We're taking OKC laying the 11 points as our second highlighted selection of the evening. And that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. 6-3 highlighted in November. Let's keep that momentum rolling. We were 1 assist away from the sweep yesterday. Devin Booker sold. Let's try and get that 11-game sweep today. I appreciate the support so much. I do this every day for free, so please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's your boy, Yo. And until the next one, I'm going to catch y'all. Peace.